Now let's focus on this story. Government says it wants to grow the local cannabis industry. The Agriculture Department has released a plan to this effect. The aim is to turn the industry into a viable business sector for the country.
Welcome to our next episode of the Insider's Echo Tour. In this episode, we venture into private social cannabis clubs and find out how they function. Not everyone has the ability, means, health, space, interest, security, and skills required to grow their own, much less a variety of high-quality organic produce. Very few have drying, trimming, and curing facilities. For this reason, many, especially those that rely on it medicinally, will want to appoint a club to be the gardener and processor, or to do this on their behalf, as per the club constitution. A Cannabis Social Club, sometimes called a Teapad, is a model of legal regulation of the cannabis market. Established as non-profit organizations in which cannabis is cultivated and enjoyed collectively, Cannabis Social Clubs became popular in the United States during Prohibition. A Cannabis Social Club is a concept of the Pan-European Non-Government Organization ENCOD, European Coalition for Just and Effective Drug Policies. ENCOD was set up in 1993 thanks to the support of the European Commission as an NGO counterpart to the European Monitoring Centre on Drugs and Drug Addiction, as a way to enable production and distribution of cannabis for adults. Cannabis Social Clubs facilitate the professional collective cultivation of limited amounts of cannabis, just enough to cover the personal needs of their club members. These places differ from cannabis coffee shops in that those openly sell cannabis, while social clubs are not selling cannabis and are only accessible to members. Today, Cannabis Social Clubs can be found in New Zealand, Spain, where more than 200 ENCOD social cannabis clubs exist in the area of Barcelona alone, Belgium, France, the Netherlands, Slovenia, Austria, Germany, Switzerland, and the United States, and it is gaining momentum all over South Africa and Africa.
Okay, so let's take a look at this story now, where the Cannabis Trade Association Africa has high hopes for cannabis trade in the country. They say it's high time government followed international trends and eased regulation around cannabis. They believe trading in such products could dramatically turn around the economy, which is reeling from the impact of the lockdown.
Cannabis social clubs have many advantages, but the biggest is that they provide safety, since they do away with the need to obtain medicinal or recreational cannabis on the black market. As a result of the entire process from seed to harvest being under the eyes of the club members or grow partners, there are no low quality, stretched, molded or laced products and no high prices. In addition, the beneficial social aspects and the community transformation possibilities of a club cannot be understated. The club's members, documentation and its website educate and advise other members and the general public on safe cannabis use. ENCOD-based social cannabis clubs are one of the most deeply rooted and widespread models for regulating cannabis clubs all over the world. At present, they are a real alternative to illicit markets, in which users themselves organize self-supply, thus guaranteeing the traceability and availability of the produce while reducing both legal and health risks. ENCOD publishes the guidelines to introduce good practices for cannabis social clubs and to standardize the management model. Their purpose is to support civil society and offer a regulatory framework that ensures safe and controlled access to cannabis, as well as guarantee legal security for people who want to consume or cultivate cannabis as club members. The CannaClub is the oldest ENCOD-based, on-site cultivation, private social cannabis club in South Africa that we are aware of, and this means that the club is non-profit based with clear rapid economic transformation and empowerment strategies, a blog site, how-to video channels, an educational YouTube series, a volunteer program, and many other black empowerment and community advancement efforts. The club has no off-site growers, cultivates and processes the members' produce on the same location. The disadvantage of this model is that you do not have access to product from other growers, both locally or from other regions, and are reliant on your own cultivation efforts. The advantage is that there is a lot less traceability and control measures that needs to be implemented, ultimately resulting in lower membership fees and plant management fees for members, if the club and cultivation is strictly on one location with no produce sourced elsewhere. The club does not sign on members online. This is not a purely ENCOD-based requirement, but due to the South African situation of cannabis legality for private use and cultivation, it is the CannaClub's belief that ENCOD-based models in South Africa cannot sign members online at present, as they are not in the same private space. The CannaClub does not provide delivery or courier services. This is not a purely ENCOD-based requirement, but once again, due to the South African situation of cannabis legality for transport, it is the belief of the CannaClub that ENCOD-based models in South Africa cannot transport cannabis at present, unless they conform to strict traceable and verifiable standards. There is currently a test case with the Hayes Club, which could rectify this, and if the private consumption bill is promulgated, a limited amount of produce will be allowed to be transported discreetly to club members. The CannaClub does not sell any cannabis product. Members reimburse the club for the plant management fees, such as cultivation, processing and packaging, according to the club constitution, which has predefined target fees and budgets, and offers full transparency, and only if a member is satisfied with the produce. The risk of crop failure or reimbursement failure remains with the club and grow partners, and not with the members. The members' stock and all expenditure is controlled by Vent and Zero Accounting, which is externally audited yearly and fully transparent and traceable. The CannaClub obviously does not have dealers or franchises, which is another disadvantage of on-site based social clubs. They cannot franchise under the same name or share produce within their own group. This means that an ENCOD-based on-site cultivation club has to provide a unique experience in addition to high quality and variety of produce if it wants to secure a long-term existence. You can find the constitution of the CannaClub on its website, and also a model constitution for communities in the Education and Training drop-down menu, under the African Agricultural Awakening section. You can also find the European guidelines for ENCOD-based clubs there. Another organization working with the Cannabis Club model is the Teapad Cannabis Academy, whose students grow for a cannabis club, and any revenue generated for the growing services then goes back into scholarships.
So, there are
those people who say they know a lot about the medicinal herb, the green one that some
Are you
people...
one of them, Gareth?
I have used it for medicinal purposes. Very seriously, I actually have asthma and all that kind of stuff. But now it seems you can get qualified in it. You can study cannabis, weed, pot, whatever you
I
like to
have
call it.
nothing to add to that.
Oh, really? It's
whatsoever.
You are allowed to now.
We keep hearing about how it's going to be doing amazing things for our economy, and that ball should have started rolling a very long time ago. And it only makes sense then that people want to be more educated about it as well. Now, Africa's first cannabis academy has been launched in Gauteng for those wanting to study the production and consumption of the popular plant.
Never thought I'd say this. The cannabis course is endorsed by the University of Limpopo. Here's Nkosazana Dambuza with that story.
Although the sale of marijuana remains illegal in South Africa, these students are set on becoming qualified weed consultation experts with the launch of the Shiva Cannabis Academy, a first of its kind in Africa that provides a formal education on the entire value chain of the cannabis industry.
So we believe in very holistic education. The industry is not at a point where it needs specialization. It needs people who understand the full value chain. So we teach you to grow from seed to harvest. We teach you about medicinal cannabis, how cannabis works with the body. Then we have cannabis, which covers extraction, supply chain, project management, a sort of back end of how the whole industry works.
One student says marijuana saved his life.
There was a point in time where I was on crystal meth, and I feel that marijuana is one of the things that has helped me to stay away from drugs and stay away from alcohol. I try and lead a healthy lifestyle, and as healthy as a lifestyle is what I possibly can. And with the marijuana, I barely drink alcohol. I'm always in the gym.
Marijuana activists are calling on the government to speed up the master plan to legalize the trade.
We have challenges with government who have been very slow. The master plan is a great thing that's been put forward, but it has taken too long. The concourse ruling of 2018 was almost 2.5 years ago. We don't have another year, another 2 years. We need it for our economy.
Some say weed plays a role in uniting South Africans.
When you think that you can take everybody from a gogo who's sitting up in Venda outside her traditional homestead, smoking some cannabis or growing some cannabis in her garden, all the way to an executive in Sandton who's got his Dacha private club on speed dial, and he orders it and it gets delivered to his boardroom. So if you had to take those two examples and everything in between, the cannabis and the prohibition of cannabis and the fact that we have all been considered to be criminals for so long is what has united us.
At the treehouse, we are here in Oudtshoorn. Check het uit. In this instance, clubs rely on off-site contract growers, since they may not be able to grow on their premises or wish to do so. A big advantage for such clubs is that they can have access to multiple contract growers' produce. It is imperative for off-site cultivation clubs to self-regulate according to established international standards and to be fully transparent and traceable in their operations, for this model not to be seen as a commercial operation. Therefore, the full process from member to seed to cultivation to processing and packaging right through to delivery to the member must follow strict protocol and adhere to international standards. In this regard, the Grow One Africa Group, in our opinion, has by far the most developed ENCOD-based off-site cultivation club model, which is already functional and inspirational. Grow One Africa is non-profit based, and the CannaClub fully supports this model of ENCOD-based off-site cultivation clubs, and especially of registered contract growers. The following excellent social clubs are part of the Grow One Africa Group, which already represent in excess of 5,000 members. We would advise any clubs wishing to operate on an ENCOD off-site grow base to engage with the Grow on Africa group. The Grow on Africa group already represents the following growers brands, and we recommend that all serious small-scale growers engage with Grow on Africa regarding the standards required to comply for the possibility of grow contracts. The Grow on Africa group is involved with many economic transformation projects, and we hope to provide more information on these soon.
Some members of the Rastafari community in the Eastern Cape are openly in the business of selling cannabis.
Favorite story, Jane. They say the system and the constitution is unfair on their business as they are treated like criminals. But despite this, they are selling the herb from a stall on the N2 road in Ekuwa. Basa Kwasa has more on that story.
In 2017, the Western Cape High Court declared sections of the Drugs and Drugs Trafficking Act unconstitutional. The judgment allowed people to use cannabis privately, but selling it is still against the law. These 5 Rastafari use and sell cannabis on the N2 road in Goa town. They say they have been in the business for more than 15 years, and they are not in hiding. They grow it at their homes, process and sell it.
People need it. There's people who want it. That is why we ended up planting it. We plant hectares and hectares and hectares.
When asked why they are selling the herb even though it's illegal to do so, this was their response.
Because ganja is like cabbage. It's like any other veg and any other herb. How can I plant a cabbage and then keep it for what? People need it.
The business has led to them being in trouble with the law countless times.
We have been arrested many times by the system. Many times, I don't know, I cannot even remember.
But police in the area say they have not seen the cannabis trading. They say if it's happening, it could be an underground operation. Mbasa Kwaza in Goa.
In the South African context, it is immensely difficult for black-owned startup growers and clubs to obtain the space, water, equipment, skills, knowledge, security, electricity, much less the capital, to be able to conform to stringent standards such as ENCOD. Therefore, an ENCOD-based model for black-owned growers and clubs needs to be developed, which would allow for rapid access and learning, as well as a gradual implementation of 5 years towards a full ENCOD-based operation. The cannabis community, through the CannaClub and others such as Simon Strainhunter, the House of Rastafari, Kobus from the Boermeis and the Grow on Africa group, have all been developing such opportunities and have already started looking towards collaborating these efforts. Keep an eye out on future episodes for more on these empowerment initiatives, and hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoy our content. Thanks for watching.